Few minutes late, but not really. 4:03. We're on time. So I say the same thing every week for anybody who's new, who's just rolling in. Hey, Rachel. Please say hello, like Rachel, or hello for Rachel. We don't know you're here unless you make a comment, and we'd love to know that you're here. And if you want to be a fly on the wall, that's fine. But make some comments, talk amongst each other, ask us questions. I want this to be as interactive and as comfortable as you want it to be. So yay for the guest. I've been so looking forward to Nairobi being on today. And we were just saying when she signed up and scheduled a time, it felt like it was a really long time. I think it's been like 2 months, right? I want to say, or at least a month and a half. And now here we are. So
yes.
And flies. Yeah.
As a heads up, the pronouns are they and them. I didn't say that before, and I should have.
Yeah. And I can see them. I don't know if they can, but I can see them. So we've got Karen here from Tampa, Florida. Hey, Karen. So tell us what you do, who you are, and then obviously we're going to share some stories.
Okay, so obviously I'm Norlie. I am a project manager with a nonprofit organization called the Valuable 500. And what we do is we make sure that companies throughout globally have disability inclusion or performance requirements, or they are on that journey to make sure that they are inclusive for people with disabilities. And especially because I have one or several, this was really important to me. And I just started there 5 months ago, or 4 months ago. So I'm still very new, and I'm also new to project management, but it's not a lot different from when I was teaching. So I taught social justice before that, and English and social justice through English. But now I'm focusing on how to help companies and organizations make sure that they are inclusive to people who are not able-bodied or are neurodivergent or have invisible disabilities, and not just visible disabilities.
Mm-hmm. That's so wonderful. And I'm sure people think you must be super organized because you're a project manager. I assume that, and are you?
Okay, so I have ADHD and I have OCD. So when I was diagnosed with both of them, I told the psychiatrist, I was like, so they kind of cancel each other out, right? Because obviously if you look behind me, like I can't have a mess, but if you look over here, I just pretend it doesn't exist because I know I need to go through it. And my ADHD is like, no. So there's a file over here, but over here looks great. This is how I want my mind to think. And sometimes it looks like that, which I'm not going to show you. But
it's kind of like an Almond Joy or a Mounds bar, right? Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. That was probably the stupidest thing I'll ever say today.
I don't know about that. Not for me anyway.
Well, it's early still.
Exactly.
So hi, Susanna. I'm so happy you're here from Portland, Oregon. So I don't know if you can see. I'm going to see. Yeah, it's too much glare. But there's snow outside my window, and I'm in Bend, Oregon. I'm visiting my daughter in Bend. So she's been shoveling snow all day. So Susanna, you probably have rain, I'm thinking, and not snow, which I'm envious for. All right, back on topic. What would you? So we're here to share our stories, to say out loud how we've gotten here, what makes us proud and strong, or impacting other people and letting them know that they're not alone. So today, what do you feel comfortable or feel called to share? Because this is live out in the world, right? So I'm gonna let you start.
So I guess we can just go with the fact that I work for a nonprofit for people with disabilities. And before that, I taught social justice. A lot of my concentration is on advocacy for people who are marginalized because of who I am and what I've been through. Now, I am white and I have privilege in that, but I am disabled. I am neurodivergent. I am queer. I'm trans. So while I do have things that I face, I don't face other certain things. But as a kid, I never felt right, and I never knew why. I just didn't feel right. I was always being called a tomboy or just being asked, why I am the way I am. And I never knew how to respond. I didn't know how to respond until I was 27 and I'm 32. So they didn't really have the language for, or I didn't
Right.
have the language for why I was so different until then. But when I was in middle school, I was really bullied for the way that I looked, the way that I talked, the fact that I didn't really wear clothes that fit because my home life was not great. So the bullying was pretty intense and I became really withdrawn. I became a teacher's pet. Like the teachers were my safe places, which is why I ended up being an educator. My teachers were the people who made me feel worth it or seen. So I wanted to do that for kids. That's why I ended up in education. And of course, if you think about, I don't know have you seen Stranger Things?
I have not. I'm writing it down though.
So there's a character in Stranger Things, and so many people hate him because of the way he behaves. And what they forget is that he's 17 years old, or 16 probably. And the few seconds that we get to know about his past or his history is his dad calling him an F word, like, the slur for gay, and shoving him around. And so he's a bully. He's, aggressive. He only got aggressive because people lied to him. But the way that he lashed out, or continuously lashed out, hold on, I need to take out the trash really quick. Give me a second. This
That was so cute. Good thing my
jumped in the trash
not
can.
saying this.
Like, stop jumping in the trash can. So I grew a really deep connection with that character. And it's because when I went to high school, I managed to get away from the abusive household. And then I went to a household where there wasn't any parenting and there wasn't any fear that I had in going home and having a call home saying, hey, your kid bashed someone's head into a window. So I went from like this withdrawn, quiet person to a person who was extremely violent when provoked. And that wasn't because of the size that I was in 8th grade, like, almost 6 foot. A lot of people didn't mess with me, but when they did, it didn't end well for them. Yeah. And my mom, because I was tormented so much in school, when someone bullied me, my mom was like, okay, put on your shoes. I'm taking you down their house and you're going to kick their ass. Like, that was my house. Okay. For me, it was hiding when I was with my dad to my mom telling me that if I lost, we're going to have a problem. So from there, becoming a teacher, of course, you can't just go around beating people up.
No, but, I don't think you can stay employed very long.
Yeah, right. So no, I went to therapy and I got on medication and stuff, and they figured out there's a whole bunch of like chemical imbalances, and being trans was one of the things that we figured out was something that caused a lot of issues psychologically because I presented as female. Yeah. And every time someone said my dead name, and I've been going by Nora Lee since 2008, like I was going by my middle name before I understood what trans was, but I knew that my first name was not the name that I wanted. Like it was, I was like, I don't want that name. I don't want people calling me that name. And Nora Lee just was in the middle. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to push that up.
Yep.
So when I figured that out, I came out as trans, and because of everything that happened to me growing up, and because being queer, trans, disabled, I became a huge advocate as a teacher as well. Yeah. And I ended up getting bullied again, even though I was a very strong teacher and a leader, and people knew me in the district. I couldn't go anywhere without anyone knowing me. Yeah. I did training. So
were you being bullied by other educators?
Yeah. I actually, I can't say like a huge amount about it, but I am currently in a lawsuit with my ex-employer because it got to the point where like I was cornered in a classroom by a male coworker. And when I told my supervisor I was still uncomfortable and didn't want anything to do with it, his response was, well, did you guys hug it out yet?
Oh, gee.
And one of the same person slammed a door on one of my trans kids' foot and told them that he wasn't going to call them by their name or their pronouns because that's not what it was in the computer. And the kiddo came to my classroom crying because their foot was on fire from getting slammed into the door.
Yeah.
So my colleagues would refuse to use my pronouns. And during this time, I fought and I fought and I fought. Like, it was an aggressive battle, and I wouldn't back down because it wasn't necessarily for me. It was for my kids. Like, my gay kids, my trans kids. You walked into my school and you didn't know that there was an LGBTQ kid there. You didn't, because it wasn't evident. So I started up all of the programming, and the school became suddenly a very obnoxious rainbow. And I had to fight to start a club for the kids. And of course it was in the South, but I guess I turned the bullying that happened to me for who I was into fighting for the people who were hurt in the same way. But my ability to fight died out in 2019. After my ex-husband told me that my androgyny didn't do it for him, he ended up having an affair with a trans person. And that really destroyed my life and my self-worth. But at the same time, I had to put down both of my cats. I was diagnosed with cancer. The harassment and the bullying at work got so bad that I was forced to resign, bullied into resigning. I sold my house and I moved to another state.
Yeah.
And that, I think that break, the divorce, the moving, the resigning, filing a lawsuit, all of that kind of.
Don't forget the cancer.
Yeah, the cancer.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah, right. On the that was awful, and I think I just kind of block it out, because on the day where I was going to see how far it had spread, I saw on Facebook that he was having the affair during the last December, which is when we were trying to have a child. So if you think of a Southern person with, riding on a truck and his shit in the yard, that's exactly what that was. I never thought I would be that person, but I was that person, because I was fine until I read that he was doing it while we were trying to have a kid. And then his truck got some really fun decorations on it. It wasn't damaged. I wouldn't damage it. And then his shit got thrown in the yard. So
do you stop and realize how strong you are through all of this?
No.
Because you're still here talking about it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to discount just how hard that must have been. And I also want to acknowledge how courageous and brave you are.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, because it's been really hard.
Yeah. I'm not a unicorn, but this is going to sound like a unicorn. I want the world to be a safe place for everybody, where we all get along, right? And people can go to a bar and not get shot, not have somebody come in and shoot the people that are in the bar or a dance club or whatever. I want the world to be that way. It's not though, right? So
no,
it's not always safe for you.
No, and that's why I had to move. I knew I couldn't stay there. I did have to cut off a lot of friendships because I realized that they were toxic. And then I decided that I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. And I was a workaholic because I focused so much on work, because my marriage was so just not good that I thought was good, and it wasn't. So I was a workaholic. So now I have these boundaries, and I'm also very aware of emotional things, communication, being able to talk about issues and being able to do it clearly, being able to see past someone's behaviors or actions or their habits and into who they are and maybe where they learned them and how can we untangle that, instead of, well, you're a MAGA wearing weirdo and I'm not going to talk to you anymore. That doesn't help. It doesn't help to be cruel to people. And if they're not there to learn, they're not there to learn, but that doesn't mean you can't try. And if trying doesn't work, maybe one day they'll meet someone who can help them.
Right. Or try and have acceptance versus non-acceptance, right? I mean, I can understand somebody being uncomfortable. That I can understand. It is, you know, it isn't how most people are brought up to understand. I mean, I was, you know, of course, I'm, you know, like 3 decades older than you. So go back to way back to when I was 16. That was the first time I even learned about what the word gay meant. I was about 15, 16. So fortunately for me, I lived in a household where it wasn't uncomfortable and we could talk about it. Once I like, Mom, what is this? It wasn't like, oh, don't talk about it. But I do know I have a lot of friends who, you know, grew up where that wasn't something you talked about and it wasn't normal. I'm sure you've heard of way more worse things than what I'm saying.
I have heard, and it was strange because I dated a girl in high school and I didn't realize that it wasn't normal. Like, I was dating a girl and I was just like, okay, I'm just dating this person. Like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean gay? What do you mean lesbian? I like that person. Like,
so I'm going to interrupt for just a second. Hey, Teresa, I'm going to see who else, anybody else is logged in. Teresa, so good to see you. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put some in the comments. So if you have a question, I don't want you to think there's any stupid questions. There's not, right? So please feel free to ask us, either of us, okay, questions as we go along. We want this to be super interactive. So I'm going to fast forward to today. What's it like being you today? Obviously, all these things have made you, as you're sitting right there in that chair, you are amazingly courageous, brave, beautiful, all those things. You're here, right? So how is life today? How's work? How is it for you today?
So I work from home, and work is a little bit rough, not because it's a bad job, but because I have so much trauma left over from my previous work experience. And when I moved to Illinois, I was teaching as a social justice teacher, and it ended poorly because they did something extremely racist, and I wouldn't put up with it. And they also didn't report a teacher for doing things he shouldn't have been doing towards students. But that's beside the point. So I kind of got fired / I quit, whatever. And that's when I decided to get out of education, because I realized that their whole, we're going to be diverse and equitable and inclusive, is a big fat lie. Like, you look at these school websites and they're all DEI focused, what we're doing for our Black kids, what we're doing for our brown kids, our LGBTQ kids. They're not really truly doing that. They're putting it up as a facade. Now, that's the South, just saying. And if someone's in the South and you actually have a school who's doing it, you need to support them. Like, get in there, talk, like, really support that school, because across the nation, our LGBTQ kids are dropping like flies because they're watching all this legislation come in. And that's one of the things I'm focusing on now. But with work is okay. It's a little bit rough because of the whole, hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Because I thought I was having a lot of symptoms from cancer, and that's why I was so sick for a couple of months. But like I told you before, it was carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right.
And I found out that the seller of the house, which, if anyone knows anyone in Chicago who's a lawyer for real estate, please let you know. He was told he had to fix the HVAC unit, and instead he painted over it, and the paint dissolved, and that's why I've had carbon monoxide poisoning for months.
So I'm going to interrupt. Hold on just a second, because you said realtor in Chicago, right? Yeah. So I know there are 2 realtors on right now that might know a realtor in Chicago. So
like
at the end of this half hour, I want you to be able, if you feel comfortable sharing how people can find you, they might have a real estate attorney. So just want you to know, I know there are a few people on right now that are actual realtors. So,
okay.
And I don't know, can you see the comments that are flashing up on the screen?
Yes.
So do you have a comment to Susanna's? Just curious.
I see in the 80s and 90s, the T words were worse than being called gay. T words?
Susanna, are you still there? Yeah, you want to be more specific?
What T words?
I'll wait and see. And so Rachel says yes. So I'm assuming yes means towards, because I know Rachel probably knows a realtor in Chicago. I figured she would. Rachel knows everybody.
Well, I contacted another real estate agent that I bought the house through. I contacted the lawyer. None of them are helping me, and I ended up in the hospital with carbon monoxide poisoning. And the owner of the house was supposed to fix all of that stuff, and he didn't. So I'm recovering from that, and they said it would be a really slow process because I was under poisoning since March, and they found it in October. The system was off for about 3 weeks, and my carbon monoxide was still way too
That's
high.
dangerous. You're lucky that you're here from that. Susanna answered, by the way. So, boy, that went right over my head. I probably need more coffee instead of water. Yes, that makes sense. Transgender and transvestite were the T words she was referring to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And especially like a lot of people making jokes like I'm pre-op, like it would just really awful jokes like that. And I'm not surprised at all. And it's interesting because of the arguments against it, but some people don't know biology and DNA.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm here. I moved to Chicago. I brought with me my dog, who's Riley, and then I adopted his brother, who is Brule, and he is from an abuse situation. So I've had him for about 6 or 7 months, and he still shakes. He still, cowers. He still does a lot of things that I wish he wouldn't do, but I know that is not his fault. Like, it's like, I've never hurt you before, but you're cowering. So he's sitting behind me. Hi.
That's good. So Teresa asked, was your landlord aware of the CO poisoning?
It's not a landlord. It was the seller of the house. They were aware of the damage to the HVAC and the flue vent, and they were told to fix it, and they painted over it instead. It dissolved in no time. So that was that, and then he didn't include that it flooded. So I bought the house last year, and I've spent $18,000 with fixing the basement and replacing the entire HVAC unit. There wasn't even, if you know about houses, there wasn't even a what is it called? The thing you put in the chimney sweep so that all of the carbon monoxide goes up and out of the house instead of leaking into it.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
It wasn't there.
Wow. Okay.
So, well, all
right. We're nearing the end of the half hour. So I always ask the same 2 questions, right? So we're getting there. Oh my gosh. What cat's name?
Lexi. He's deaf.
Okay.
So when I yell at him, you have no idea.
Yeah, I know. So obviously I have more chapters than you in my book, right? Being 60 versus 32. So what's your next chapter? Give us a sneak peek into what's your next chapter.
What I hope to do, I know that I'm working for the Valuable 500. It's a contract job. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm staying with them or if I need to be looking for a secondary or, another contract position. But because I'm so heavily involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, I'm hoping to find like a part-time thing where I can either educate about trans and LGBTQIA, or, how it's how discrimination in that area is rooted in racism. I really want to do that kind of stuff. So, and again, that's if the contract doesn't move into another contract, because, with contracts, you never know. So I will be looking at maybe getting my certificate in DEI and B through AIHR. I was doing it, and then I got really sick and couldn't do it anymore, but I plan on going back to it. And then this is like really random, but I've been so in control of my entire life and in control of everything that I would really like to let go. So I am going to be exploring the kink scene in Chicago. Like, I want to expand because I've been with one person, and I'm like, that boy was vanilla. Okay. So I just want to make friends and find a place where I belong, because I haven't yet since I got sick and everything. Belonging.
Well, I hope that's a really fun chapter for you. I really do. You deserve it. So
thank you.
I support that in any way I can support you. last question, when you're feeling down, happens to all of us, right? Just having a really shit day. What do you do to get back on track, centered with feeling positive, feeling your superpowers, your greatness? What do you do when it's just not quite there?
I'm one of those people that I get a lot of pleasure from check marks. Like if I have a list or if I have something I need to do, I really enjoy doing the little, haha, I got it done type of thing.
Yeah,
So
me too.
when I'm stressed, if my ADHD has left dishes alone for a while, or if it's left a pile of papers alone for a while, I will hyperfixate on that. I will focus on one thing and put all of my energy into getting that one thing done so I can say, all right, I felt like crap. I might still feel like crap, but I got something done, and that's something to celebrate. Even if it's organizing my mail. Like right now, I have a lot of medical bills from all the cancer stuff. That's why I drive Lyft. I forgot to mention that I drive Lyft for cancer bills. But they're in there and they're not opened, and I've been getting them for weeks, and I just have not opened a single one because I'm dreading it. So I need to do that, and I need to fix this pile. And those are things that I know I will probably do when I would rather not feel like garbage.
Right. I know, and I get that. And I'm not here to tell you what to do. I encourage you to have some really great friends to lean into too, right? Leaning in. I'm here for you. Just lean in. There's people that support you, right? So know that you don't need to hide.
Yeah, how dare you see me so well?
I know.
No. No.
Like peekaboo with my granddaughter all day, right?
I feel so seen. I've been called out. That's why I want to figure out a friend group in Chicago. I haven't done that yet. So
yeah. Well, there you go. So there's a goal that you have some accountability to.
Right?
Right. And then Karen says she's good at that. Thank you, Karen.
I'm sitting here like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Where's my clown makeup?
No clown makeup allowed. All right. Well, thank you for everybody for being on. This is a topic that I hope we talk more and more about. If you ever want to come on and do a part 2, or let us know in a couple months how you're doing in Chicago, we'd love to hear. You are supported, seen. Sorry. No peekabooing. All right, everybody. Thank you for getting on. Oh, really quick. If anybody wants to reach out and get to know you, or talk about or give you some advice on your real estate, how do they find you?
On LinkedIn, it's Norley Lamb, and Norley is spelled really weird. So you may want to write it down. I'll spell it really quick unless it's already on here, but it's Noroyle, and then lamb like a baby sheep.
Yep.
I welcome everybody to come talk to me. Like I enjoy getting to know people.
Awesome. And once this gets recorded on Facebook, LinkedIn, anybody can go back. Norley, you can go back and you can make comments, and so they can actually see you and see your spelling. But yes, once this gets recorded onto LinkedIn and Facebook, you can go on in and make comments and start a conversation. So don't be, and everybody can. So don't be shy.
I won't. And on that note, one of the things I want to get back into is doing little informative things on LinkedIn and having people come in, and me talking about being trans and letting people ask questions that they may be hesitant to ask otherwise. So if you go and you follow me, or you LinkedIn or link with me, you'll be able to see all of the things that I'm going to do.
Cool. Nice. And that's how we met, was on LinkedIn. So yes. Very grateful for us connecting. All right, everybody, have a good evening. Thank you.